There's a fire that never truly goes out, even when life tells you it should have. Even when time passes and others move on and the world hands you new roles, new responsibilities, new routines. Still, it flickers, quietly, persistently, somewhere deep in your chest, refusing to be extinguished. We don't talk about it much. We call it restlessness or nostalgia or imagination, but we know better. It's the voice we've learned to turn down, the one that asks, even now, is there something more? Some of us carry that fire like a secret. We build lives around it. We raise families. We build careers. We survive hardship. And we tell ourselves we'll tend to the fire later, when there's time, when things settle, when it makes more sense. And now we've arrived here, not at the end, but at the beginning of a quieter season. A season not marked by noise, but by clarity, not by pressure, but by space. And in that space, the fire begins to speak louder. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it just whispers, you're not finished yet. You've lived through decades of change. You've carried burdens no one saw. You've been the steady hand for others. And maybe, just maybe, you put your own becoming on pause to do it. That's not failure, that's grace, that's strength. But grace for others does not mean silence for yourself, because the truth is, it's not too late to become what you've always been. Not the version shaped by expectation, but the one shaped by truth. And this moment right now, this is not about reinvention, it's about release, about giving yourself permission to stop holding back the parts of you that have waited patiently in the wings. The world tells us this stage of life is for settling, but we know better. It's for shedding. It's for stepping out of what no longer fits and stepping into what always felt like home. That fire in you hasn't faded, it hasn't aged, it hasn't expired. It's just been waiting for this season, for this stillness, for this clarity. And the question isn't whether it's still there. The question is, what are you willing to do with it now? Burn the fear that says it's too late. Burn the lie that dreams have a deadline. Burn the assumption that your best chapters have already been written. Burn the ships. Become the fire. There's a myth we've been told over and over again that if it hasn't happened by now, it probably never will. That if the dream hasn't taken flight, it wasn't meant to. That certain doors only open when you're young, hungry, and fast. But the most powerful doors don't open with speed, they open with truth. You're not late, you're just finally free enough to walk through the right door. We've all made choices we thought were permanent. We picked jobs, cities, relationships, we settled into rhythms. Some were beautiful, some were survival, and some were simply what was expected. But somewhere underneath it all, something stayed alive. A version of you that wasn't just surviving. A version that was waiting. Not waiting for youth, or perfection, or applause. Waiting for you as you are now. Wiser, clearer, unapologetic. There's a story I carry with me told to me years ago. A woman in her 70s sat across from me and said, I don't regret what I've done. I regret who I didn't let myself become. She had lived a good life, but it had been shaped by roles, expectations, quiet fears she couldn't name at the time. She looked at me and said, I wish someone had told me it was okay to want something just for me. That sentence stayed with me. So let me be the one to say it now, to you. It is okay to want something just for you, not for legacy, not for family, not for reputation, for your soul. It doesn't matter how long it's been, it matters how honest you're willing to be today, because the moment of clarity doesn't always come early. Sometimes it comes exactly when you're ready to honor it. You're not here by accident, and you're not behind. You're right on time. You don't need to race, you need to return to the place inside you that never gave up, even when the world asked you to. So let this be the moment you stop watching your life from the shore. Let this be the moment you loosen your grip on what could have been. Let this be the moment you stop whispering your truth under your breath. Burn the guilt, burn the hesitation, burn the belief that it should have happened sooner. Burn the ships. Become the fire. We all have them, ships we never meant to keep but couldn't quite let go of, roles we thought we'd outgrow, plans we thought we'd revisit, old versions of ourselves anchored just offshore, quiet, familiar, always there, just in case. And that's the catch, just in case this new season feels too uncertain, just in case the decision to be fully yourself is met with silence or misunderstanding, just in case stepping forward costs more than staying still. So we keep the old scripts close, the job title we no longer need but still mention, the calendar full of things we don't care about but feel obligated to honor, the mask we wore so long we almost forgot it wasn't our skin. We tell ourselves it's practical, that it's wise to have a backup, that change should be gradual, but the truth is simpler. We're afraid of who we'll become when the noise is gone, when we're no longer who we've always been to others, when the past is no longer an option and the future is entirely our own to shape. But what if that fear is sacred? What if it's not a warning sign, but a signal you're close to something real? There's a reason the ships are hard to burn. They represent identity, history, belonging, but they also represent everything you've outgrown. And you didn't come this far to stay tethered. You came to be free, to live from the center of your being, not the edge of someone else's expectations. To let your story breathe without asking if it's too bold, too late, or too different. Because there is no dignity in a life half-lived out of fear of discomfort. There's only delay, and delay has its own cost. So take inventory not of what you've lost, but of what you've kept that no longer belongs. The friendships that drain, the rhythms that numb, the version of you who was always waiting for permission, thank them, then release them. Because carrying them any further would be a disservice to the person you're becoming. This isn't abandonment, this is alignment. And the only thing waiting for you on the other side of those burning ships is everything you've been asking for. Burn the roles, burn the old maps, burn the idea that who you've been is all you can ever be. Burn the ships, become the fire. Letting go carries a weight that few speak of. It's quiet, often unseen, but it's one of the most courageous things you'll ever do. Because letting go isn't the same as giving up. It's knowing when something has served its season, when a role, a dream, a relationship, or even a mindset has finished teaching what it came to teach, and you, in your wisdom, choose not to carry it one step further. But that choice can feel like loss. It can feel like walking away from everything you thought made you strong, from stories you've told yourself for years, from identities that once fit, once worked, once held you together. But holding on out of habit is not the same as holding on out of truth. There's an old fable about a bird that lived its entire life in a cage with the door wide open. It would sing every morning, watch the wind move the trees, feel the sun on its feathers, but never fly. When asked why, it said, "This cage is who I am." Until one day something shifted. The silence grew louder than the song, and the bird realized that the cage had never kept it safe. It had only kept it small, so it stepped out, and the sky didn't ask for credentials. It simply welcomed it home. We do the same. We sit in open cages surrounded by stories we've outgrown. We tell ourselves we're being responsible, that we don't want to cause waves, that maybe this is just the way it is now. But what if it isn't? What if the only thing standing between you and your sky is a door that's already open? Letting go is not failure, it's not quitting, it's not weakness, it's a choice. To honor your becoming more than your history. To trust that there is more beyond this chapter, and that you are allowed to turn the page. You've held so much, for so long, and that strength, it's still yours. But now it can be used not to grip the past, but to shape what comes next. Burn the guilt, burn the grief that says you should have held on longer. Burn the belief that letting go is the same as giving up. Burn the ships, become the fire. Legacy is often misunderstood. We think it's about what we leave behind, the wealth, the titles, the stories others might tell about us when we're gone. But real legacy isn't built in bronze or bank accounts. Real legacy is built in truth. It's in the moment someone watches you choose authenticity over approval. It's in the quiet courage to stop living a role and start living a life. It's in the strength to say, even now, this is who I really am. That's what echoes. That's what stays. Because legacy isn't about being remembered by the world. It's about being recognized by the ones who mattered most, and by the version of yourself that always knew who you were meant to be. You don't have to become someone else to leave a mark. You have to become fully yourself. That's the difference between influence and impact. Influence wears a mask. Impact doesn't ask for applause. There's something powerful that happens when you choose to live aligned in the later chapters of life, not because you have something to prove, but because you have nothing left to hide. You become an example, not of success, but of freedom. And freedom is contagious. Younger generations are watching not just your choices, but your energy, your peace. They're learning what aging looks like by how you carry this season. They're learning whether becoming older means shrinking down or standing taller. And when they see you letting go of fear, embracing truth, and walking forward without apology, they get a glimpse of what's possible for them too. That is legacy. You don't have to write a book or launch a cause or change the world. You simply have to tell the truth with your life. Let it be said of you that you didn't go quietly, that you didn't bow to the pressures of comfort or conformity, that you didn't wear the same name tag just because it had always been on your chest. Let it be said of you that you lived awake. Burn the version of legacy that looks like a monument and live the kind that looks like freedom. Burn the expectations, burn the performative roles, burn the need to be remembered by many. And let the few who matter see you clearly. Burn the ships, become the fire. One of the deepest fears we carry, often unspoken, is that we've waited too long, that the window has closed, that the moment was missed, and that what could have been simply won't be. But that fear comes from a lie, that life operates on a strict timeline. It doesn't. It unfolds on readiness. And readiness doesn't come from age, it comes from awareness. There's no fixed age when you're supposed to begin living honestly. There's no calendar for courage. There's only now and the clarity to recognize it. Some people spend their entire lives sprinting through their youth, chasing things they don't understand, only to realize too late that they were never really living. Others, like you, arrive here at this moment with eyes that have seen, a heart that has survived, and a soul that finally knows what matters. That is not lateness, that is power. You're not running out of time. You're stepping into time. Perhaps for the first time without distraction, without illusion, without the noise of other people's opinions drowning out your truth. There's an image I can't forget, an older man, white-haired and quiet, planting trees in a community garden. Someone said to him, "You'll never sit under their shade." He smiled and replied, "I didn't plant them for me." That's the kind of knowing that only comes with time. That's the kind of shift that makes this moment, this season, so potent. You're not doing it for applause. You're not doing it for recognition. You're doing it because the act of living truthfully is its own reward. Whether you have 20 years ahead or 2, they can be the most honest, most aligned, most fulfilling years of your life. Not because they're free of pain, but because they're free of pretending. So stop measuring, stop comparing, stop counting what could have been, start asking what's still possible when you stop holding back, because the clock does not define your worth and the past does not cancel your future. You are not late. You are ready. Burn the timeline, burn the doubt. Burn the belief that your moment has passed. Burn the ships, become the fire. Sometimes we look back at the chapters of our life and wonder which one mattered most. Was it the one where we achieved something, built something, became something others recognized. But maybe the chapter that matters most is the one you're writing now, the one where you finally stop performing and start being, the one where you stop following the map handed to you and start listening to the compass inside you. Because this is not a winding down. This is a waking up. This is the chapter where the noise gets quiet enough for the real voice to come through. Not the voice shaped by expectation or survival, but the one that's been waiting beneath it all. The one that's been whispering, "You're still here for a reason." You've done so much already. You've shown up for your family, for your career, for your responsibilities. You've given love, time, energy, even when it wasn't easy, even when it wasn't acknowledged. But now the question shifts. Not, what more must I do, but who am I now that I finally have space to be? This is not a restart. It's not about going back to who you were. It's about stepping fully into who you've become. Because now you carry wisdom you couldn't have known before. You know what's real. You know what lasts. You've seen what success looks like on the outside and what emptiness can look like on the inside. And now you choose alignment over approval, peace over pace, truth over tradition. There's nothing left to prove, and that's your power. From this point on, you don't live to impress, you live to express. You live to tell the truth with your life, with your presence, with your choices, not loudly, not for show, but clearly, unapologetically, fully. This is your real beginning, not because the world says so, but because you say so. So let this be the chapter where you come alive without needing a reason. Let this be the season where you walk away from what no longer serves your soul. Let this be the first time you choose joy, stillness, passion, truth, not as a reward for enduring, but as your birthright. You don't need to rush. You just need to choose. Burn the pretending, burn the people-pleasing. Burn the belief that your best moments are behind you. Burn the ships, become the fire. And now we arrive, not at the end but at the edge, the moment that asks for something deeper than inspiration. It asks for a decision, because this fire we've spoken of, it's not out there waiting for you to find it. It's not in a book, it's not in a title, it's not in someone else's story, it's in you. It always has been. You felt it in quiet moments, in the late-night thoughts you never said aloud, in the aching wonder of, what if there's still more for me? That was never foolishness, that was truth. And it's time now, not to chase, not to hustle, but to release, to stop carrying ships you no longer need. The ship called, "I should have done it sooner." The ship called, "What will they think?" The ship called, "What if it's too late?" They've served their time, they brought you here, but they cannot take you forward. Only fire can do that now. The fire of courage, not the loud chest-beating kind, but the quiet, sacred kind. The kind that stands at the shoreline of a life and says, "This time, I choose me." Let them say you've changed. Let them not understand. Let them question your timing, your path, your choices. Because your life isn't about being explained. It's about being lived. And if someone needs to see the plan to believe in your freedom, they were never meant to walk with you anyway. You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You just need the moment where you say, now I stop waiting. Now I stop apologizing. Now I stop shrinking to fit what never fit me to begin with. Burn the hesitation, burn the guilt, burn the expectation that you must remain who you were yesterday, and rise, not as someone new, but as someone finally whole. Because this isn't about becoming fire someday, it's about remembering you already are. Burn the ships, become the fire.